Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This week we're on location at Duo, a new restaurant in Uptown Kingston. And a little later on in the show, we'll head into the kitchen, meet the owners, and sample some of the great food they make here. We'll also talk to Zoe Dunn and Kathy Moretti about 1 Billion Rising, a day of domestic violence awareness. We have live music from Leonard Banks in the show. And we'll talk to Hein, the executive director of People's Place here in Kingston. That's who we'll start with. Hi, Christine.
Hello, how are you?
Good, I'm okay.
Good.
So what is People's Place?
People's Place is a food pantry and a thrift store located in Kingston at 773 Broadway, which is actually on the corner of St. James Street and Broadway, right behind Michael's Candy Corner and right across the street from Keegan Ales.
That's an interesting combination, food pantry, thrift store. Tell me how that came to be.
People's Place actually started in 1972 down on the Roundout on Abeale Street by some Redemptorist brothers from Mount St. Alphonsus. And in the beginning, is my understanding that it actually started as a place for kids from school to come after school to study. They had a few teachers who volunteered there to help with math and English, and as the students were coming, the brothers started to realize in the neighborhood there was a need for food actually first, and clothing. So it sort of morphed into a thrift store and then a food pantry, actually way back then with the help of social services. And now, 40 years later, we are a thrift store and a food pantry. The thrift store actually helps support the food pantry because we have rent to pay, we have taxes and utilities, all the things that a regular business would have to pay, and then we give all of the food away. So the thrift store actually helps fund our ability to be able to service the public.
Now, I love thrift stores because you find such extraordinary things, you know, old vintage clothing and old electronics that kind of fascinate me. So is the clientele people like me coming into the thrift store, or who is coming in to buy stuff?
The clientele is mixed, and it's funny that you ask that question because I think the huge misconception in our community is that only people who can't afford or that can't afford to go to a retail store or are so strapped that they can't buy many products at a retail store go to People's Place. And there's nothing further than the truth. People just like yourself can not only come to the thrift store, we want you to come to the thrift store. I've actually had people say, well, I don't want to come and shop there because I don't want to take something nice away from someone else. And while that's very admirable, if it weren't for people like yourself who come to shop at the thrift store, we would not be able to afford to function. Because as I said, the thrift store helps pay for our utilities, our taxes, our rent, and then when we have any money left from that, it helps supplement our food pantry.
So what kind of items would people find if they came to the thrift store?
To the thrift store, we have all sorts of items. We have clothing, and it's not vintage. We have a few vintage pieces, but it's everyday clothing that maybe somebody bought 3 months ago. We get clothes in that still have the tags on them, and they're great quality clothes that you could find in any shop. We have a lot of Talbot's clothes, a lot of Abercrombie and Finch, just all of the different kinds of famous makers. So that's great. And then we also have small household items, toasters and lamps and vases and plates and anything that people donate. We do not take furniture because we just don't have the space for it. We do have children's clothing, and we do take in children's items like pack and plays and small toys, that sort of thing. I always say people should stop on in, see what we have, and hopefully we have something that they're looking for. And how great is it that we're green, right? We're recycling and being kind to the environment at the same time as helping the people within our environment.
And where do you get the stuff from the thrift store? Is it donations?
It's all donated. We survive solely on the goodness and kind hearts of our local residents. Anybody can come and donate to the thrift store. We do ask a few things. One, that the items are dropped off while we're open, or if they call and make an appointment and I will meet them at the thrift store to drop off their items. We ask that people don't leave it outside, because what ends up happening is people who happen to be in the neighborhood or driving through see bags, they stop, they kind of dig through them, pick out what might work for them, and then leave the rest of it all over the ground. So that's really not fair. And the other thing is that they're clean. We ask that people donate clean clothing. We do not have a washer and dryer on premise, so therefore we don't have the ability to clean it. Plus, everybody that is there sorting through the clothes, they are all volunteers. So it's nice if they have clean clothes to have to sort through.
Exactly.
So it does take a lot of time to sort through all the clothes and make sure that they are nice, viable items for people to be able to wear.
Well, Christine, keep up the good work at People's Place.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
This is Kingston Now, and next we're going to head into the kitchen and see what's cooking. Welcome back to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This week we're at Duo, a new restaurant on John Street in Uptown Kingston, and it is an anniversary of sorts today, right? You've been open for 8 months today.
8 months today.
We're with Chef Juan Romero and the manager Shawna Chahanovich. How did I do with the name?
Perfect.
Yeah, I've been practicing for quite a while. So 8 months ago, you opened your doors here. Where were you before, Chef?
I was the chef at a small little cafe in Saugerties, New York called Love Bites Cafe.
And where did you get your training to make great food?
I like to tell people a school of hard knocks. I was actually a college student at one point in my life for biology and psychology, but succumbed to the will of the kitchen.
So what's involved in opening a new restaurant?
Well, it's a lot of hard work and planning, first of all.
You looked at Shawna like, you guys have been
hours.
you've been through a lot, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the food is definitely the last part of it, for sure. I mean, it's just the infrastructure and the ideology behind it that you have to come up with first before you come up with the actual dishes that you're going to be serving.
Sure, you've even got to come up with tables and chairs and bars, and we were just saying before the camera started rolling that the bars and the tables are homemade.
They are, yes. My partner here, who couldn't be here tonight, Niels, and a friend of ours collaborated together to build all the tables and bar top and services all out of the same tree that we actually found locally harvested from an Irene fall last year.
So let's talk about the food. You got to that part when you were deciding about the menu. What did you want it to be?
Well, we are very focused on Hudson Valley. The Hudson Valley is becoming a very huge producer of really wonderful foods, and we wanted to try and focus on a lot of things that you can find, harvest, and use here in the Hudson Valley. Obviously, this time of year in the winter, the Hudson Valley is not producing a lot of food, but we still try to find whatever we can that's locally made, even down to our fish and greens and things like that, which is harder to find this time of year, but it's still possible.
So what you do a breakfast, you do a lunch, and you do a dinner. You're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Is that right?
For dinner, yep.
So tell me about those different meals.
Well, breakfast and lunch are usually, our economy here in Kingston is a very blue-collar economy and white-collar economy, so we try to make things quick, accessible, and relatively healthy, although we are seasonal as well, so this time of year people are looking for more comfort foods, things like that. And as far as Uptown Kingston goes and the market up here, there's a really good food scene, so we have to carve out our own niche, and we try to make things approachable to the average consumer, but do them in our own special way.
And Shawna, in the 8 months that you've been here, has a particular dish emerged as a favorite?
Actually, one of them would be the chef's breakfast. It's perfect breakfast meal, healthy but still delicious.
And that's what's sitting on the bar in front of us?
And that's exactly what's sitting on the bar.
Freshly made. What's
Yes.
in the chef's breakfast, Chef?
The chef's breakfast is it's a pretty simple salad, quote unquote, of eggs, which we use locally raised eggs, goat cheese, which is a locally made goat cheese, and then it has sprouts, spinach, and bacon, because everybody loves bacon.
Everyone does love bacon, don't they?
And then the other important part of the dish is our own whole wheat, whole grain bread that we make here.
And you make that fresh every day?
When needed, yeah, it's baked fresh when needed. So.
Terrific. You mind if I have a bite?
No, feel free.
Absolutely terrific. And so I also have mimosa in front of me, so that would imply that you guys have a liquor license of sorts?
Well, at the moment, we actually have a beer and wine license, but hopefully soon we will be applying for our liquor license.
And so for wines, what can people expect for something to go with their dinner?
Well, we have a pretty broad range. We like to keep it pretty approachable, and the mimosas are great. We have a nice Spumante Prosecco and fresh squeezed orange juice, which is wonderful.
Which I had when I had breakfast here a couple weeks
Yes.
ago, and there's just nothing in the world like fresh squeezed orange juice.
Yes.
Any plans to expand the hours or days, or you still getting used to the?
We will be expanding our dinner hours. We're currently open for breakfast and lunch 7 days a week. Dinner hours only 3, and we do plan on expanding dinner hours coming this spring.
Well, good luck with the restaurant, and welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
This is Kingston Now. Next, we're going to hear some local music from Leonard Banks. You're watching Kingston Now. Let's meet local band Leonard Banks.
Hi, we're Leonard Banks, and we are the Sounds of Kingston. This is a little song called Windmills.
Me and Mo have actually been playing music for a long time. I was doing a lot of technical rock stuff, and Mo has a whole catalog of amazing funk tracks that he was working on for the past few years. And we found each other and wanted to do a project that was a little new. So we feel like we're kind of going back to more of our roots and playing blues music and music that's inspired by some older music. Roots. Roots. The roots.
I think our collaboration kind of came naturally. It came organically, and we just started hanging out, pretty much in my apartment where I got my drum set up, got my amp set up, and we just started banging out some songs. We just decided to bring it to the stage and bring it to people and see how they liked it.
Oh, windmill. The streams are boiling, and the wind's got the chill. The arms are broken on the old windmill.
I think we take a lot from old stuff, new stuff.
I'm broke down and dusty, my cup ain't filled. I dreamed
We've worked backwards as far as history goes. You know, when you're young, you listen to a lot of the new music, and then you have to dig through, you know, the forefathers and the forefathers of that music to really get to the heart of everything. So a lot of the stuff in Leonard Banks is definitely considered new, but I think it all has roots in classic music all the way to the Delta blues.
got the chill. The arms are broken on the old windmill. Streams are boiling.
For us, we feel that we still can get the sound that we're looking for with just me and Mo.
Broken on the old windmill.
We have 2 shows at the end of February coming up at Dave's Coffee House. We have a show in early March at DSP Lounge.
Best place to find us, Facebook or Twitter. Twitter, we're Leonard Banks 666, and on Facebook, you can just find Leonard Banks under music.
We're the last ones. 'Cause we're the last ones.
We're Leonard Banks, and we're the Sounds of Kingston.
This is Kingston Now. Up next, it's Zoe Dunn and Kathy Moretti to talk about 1 Billion Rising, a day of awareness against domestic violence and sexual abuse. And with us now is Zoe Dunn and Kathy Moretti. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Kathy, I know why you're here. You're from the Washburn House, part of Family of Woodstock, and that's the domestic violence program, which has a lot to do, obviously, with this issue. But Zoe, how did you get involved in 1 Billion Rising?
Well, my business partner, Beth Bankston, and I, we have a small business called Hale Advisors here that's headquartered here in Kingston.
Now, that's a financial company, right?
We're actually consultants to the pharmaceutical industry in digital marketing and communications, kind of a niche specialty.
Sure.
But we went to a conference last fall that was about women empowerment, and Eve Ensler spoke. She was the creator of the Vagina Monologues, and every year on February 14th, she leads a rising for V-Day, which is to raise awareness of violence against women. This year is, I believe, the 20th anniversary, and she is leading a global event called 1 Billion Rising. And her goal is to really have 1 billion women and the men who love them rise up and raise awareness that 1 in 3 women will be beaten or raped in her lifetime.
It's an extraordinary number.
It's an unbelievable
you have to say it
number.
over in your mind a few times to just grasp that.
It is that 1 in 3
Yeah.
women. I think I was in a room the other day with a group of women, and I really believe that every woman in that room had been the victim in some way of abuse. And it's terrifying, I think, in light of recent global and national events. We really have to do something. We've got to all get together. It's incumbent upon us to not allow this to happen anymore. I'm the mother of 2 girls. I would like them to grow up in a world without fear and be safe. And so this is an important event for Beth and I to spearhead, and we have reached out to Kathy and Washburn House as our charity for the event. We're working with a lot of local folks, and we have a few panels of political folks and community folks who are going to be speaking, and we have Gwen Wright, who is the executive director of the Office of Domestic Violence, coming down from Albany to speak. But the day is really about solidarity. It's about coming together. Strike, dance, rise is the theme for the day, and it's asking people to leave work to come and join us, to dance together, and to show their solidarity of this cause.
And the event, Kathy, is going to take place at BSP in Uptown Kingston on Wall
Yes.
Street. What are the what times are the?
12 to 5.
12 to
p.m.
5. So you're hoping people will come to work during that time, leave work during that time, and come to the event.
And if they can't leave for the whole time, maybe they can take a lunch hour or...
Yeah.
What
You
will
know.
happen during those 5 hours besides the speakers that Zoe just mentioned?
Well, there's also going to be a panel with some important people in the county.
Yeah, we have Holly Carnwright.
Holly Carnwright, Chief Tinty,
Of the Kingston Police Department,
yes, and a few other people. And there's going to be some movies, some films. People are going to write why they rise.
We brought one for you too.
We're going to have the
Great.
Clothesline Project.
Yep.
Perfect.
There you
We're going to have the Clothesline Project, which is a project like the AIDS Quilt, where women make T-shirts and they tell their stories. And we have about 250 T-shirts that have been made from Ulster County women that we'd like to hang, and people can, read the stories. We also have photographs, a photo exhibit of places in the county where women have been murdered in Ulster County. And it's very powerful. I mean, just to look at this house and not to know what goes on in there.
The issue of domestic and sexual violence against women 30, 40 years ago was sort of under the table. There wasn't a spotlight on it. And now there are events like 1 Billion Rising that happen, and you work on a daily basis with victims of domestic violence. How has it changed in that time span?
Oh, it's changed tremendously, but there's still, we have a long way to go still. But 30 years ago, the police would show up and they would take the guy and say, take a walk around the block and come back. 30 years ago, I can remember, being in a police station and having the chief of police say, why do you want to get this man arrested? He went to high school with him, calling him up on the phone and saying, your wife's here, she wants to get you arrested. It's taken very seriously now. It's a crime. There's no excuse for it.
And here in Ulster County, we've got a county executive who, I think with your urging, made, is it November Domestic Violence Month? October is domestic,
yeah,
right?
Mike Hein has been wonderful.
And Holly Carnwright
And
has
Holly
made,
Carnwright. We have a domestic violence interagency council. In fact, we're meeting next Thursday. And it's where all the agencies come together and meet on domestic violence, and we meet about, cases in the county, and we meet about how we can get domestic violence awareness going in the county and make it, people aware of it.
And it's still starting that people in this day and age may not know they're a victim of domestic or sexual violence.
Yes.
So how can they get more information about that from
Well,
family?
we have a website, but we also have counselors. I would encourage any woman, if she even thinks she may be a victim of domestic violence, and it doesn't have to be physical. It's verbal abuse too. A lot of times, women will say, the physical is easy because it leaves a mark and there's proof, but the verbal abuse, there is no proof. I encourage her to call our hotline and to come in and see a counselor, make a safety plan. We'll show them the power and control wheel. All they have to do is look at that and they'll know that they're a victim of domestic violence.
Well, Kathy, thanks for doing all the good things that you're doing.
Thank
Zoe,
you.
thanks for helping get the word out, and I hope the
Thanks.
event is a big success. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. That's it for this week's show. Our thanks to Christine Hein of People's Place, to Zoe Dunn and Kathy Moretti of 1 Billion Rising, to local band Leonard Banks, and to Juan and Shawna of Duo. Remember, all of our shows are archived on YouTube, and you can find that link on our Facebook page. For Kingston Now, I'm Jimmy Buff. We'll see you next time.